All right. So this is gonna be a little whiny. I already know. I'm gonna be whiny in this one. How I deal with imposter syndrome. There's a lot of authors that I have met over the years that I've talked to, new authors especially, people who are just getting into writing or are trying to make this a go and be more serious about what they are writing, what they are doing. They're asking me the questions, the big questions. Talking about finances. They're talking about time. They're talking about all these different things, and inevitably, indubitably, one of the things that always I think confuses some people, and I've run into this several times now, especially when I'm mentoring authors, that they look at me, they look at other authors, they look at the big authors, Stephen King and Dean Koontz and Patterson and all the rest, and they say, all right, well, they figured it out. Okay. I've been doing this for almost 40 years. I've been getting published, and 15 years now I've been able to do this full time. So obviously all the mental part of it, all of the bad stuff that a new author has in their life, it just, I don't have to worry about any of that stuff anymore. It's awesome. It's great. Stephen King doesn't worry about it. No, nobody thinks about this stuff anymore. Nobody, as a writer, I guess they feel like you get to a certain point, either experience wise, writing wise, time wise, whatever it is, that you're just like, everything I write is great. This is easy. I'm going to keep pumping out stuff. I figured it all out. And boom, I am there. And let me tell you, it doesn't work. Now, again, Armand's opinion on this. So this is all my opinion on stuff. Your mileage may vary on all this. And hey, if you're an author that you've hit a certain level of your writing, or you've hit a certain level of sales, whatever, and you're like, I'm great. I can do this. I don't have any mental issues. I don't have any problems. I don't worry about any of this stuff. Okay. Kudos to you. Seriously. I will never get there. There are other authors, tons of big authors, that talk about imposter syndrome. And basically what it really means is I'm writing something and I'm like, this is garbage. What I'm writing is awful. I might need to go get a 9 to 5 job because I've lost my touch. Nothing I'm writing means anything. I really just want to go, you know what? How do I just delete an entire document? I just wrote 60,000 words, garbage. How do I just delete the whole thing, go back to a blank page? That's imposter syndrome. Imposter syndrome is I finished something and I don't want anybody to read this because it's bad. I don't want anybody to read this because I am not good enough, because my skills have regressed, because it is the de-evolution of the skills and experience I thought I had. And guess what? I don't have those. I am bad. These are not good. This story is god awful. And a lot of times I'll finish it and I just like whatever. And there's a point in every story that I write where I don't think I'm a good enough writer to tell this story. Now, hey, I'm not egotistical enough to think that everything I write is going to be phenomenal. And you know what? I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm sure there's people who are watching this right now who are going, "Yeah, I've read your stuff. Your stuff is garbage." That's fine. Everybody's got their opinion. This is my opinion. That's the name, literally the name of the YouTube channel. So for me, as a writer, it's the trying to slog through a story. Try to just get to the end. Okay. Try to get to that point where, um, you know, I I want this story done, and I want to hand it off to beta readers. I want to hand it off to an editor, hand it off to my wife, and go. And, a lot of times I don't say anything. What I really want to say is here's a piling hunk of garbage that I just wrote. Here, I apologize ahead of time. And a lot of times over the years, some of those are my best stories ever. I'll write some of those stories. I'll write a short story. I'll put it up on Patreon, and people will love it. People will be like, "This is the best thing you've ever written." I'm very hard on myself. I don't think anything I've ever written is perfect. I don't think anything I've written is really that good. Nothing I've written is ever great. If I have a short story in an anthology, for instance, and I read the anthology, the other stories, I think, wow, mine's the worst story in this thing. Again, I'm very hard on myself, and I always think that, who am I fooling? Okay. And that's part of that is mentally, part of that is me. Okay. I grew up being very insecure, about my skill set, being very insecure about my looks, being very insecure about a lot of things. There was a point in my life as a teenager where I thought, I am never going to, no woman is ever going to date me. Never. Okay. Over the years, several women have dated me, which is fine. But it's like anything else. So, I'm in jobs over the years, and I'm like, I fooled them. I fooled them in this job because I don't know what the heck I'm doing. And I do know what I'm doing. I did know what I'm looking back. I did know what I was doing. Okay. Maybe I wasn't the best, and again, retail management is what I did pretty much most of my life until 15 years ago. And a lot of that was, fake it till you make it kind of thing. And I don't know what this paperwork, I'm going to bluff my way through this paperwork or whatever. And always feeling that I wasn't doing the job I was being paid for. Always feeling that I wasn't the best boss I could be. Always feeling like I just need to do better in everything. I need to do better. I thought I was an awful husband. I was an awful father. I was an awful, coworker. I was an awful manager. I was an awful writer. I'm awful at everything. Okay. And it's the imposter syndrome that bleeds from life into my work. So I don't think I've ever worked a job where I really 100% thought, piece of cake, I can do this. This is nothing. So it's not even just imposter syndrome when it comes to writing. It's imposter syndrome when it comes to life for me. And I'm not saying all this because I want you to have pity and I want you to buy my books. I'll put a link of my books in the description in case you want to take pity on me and buy several books. I'm not going to complain about that. But in all seriousness, I beat myself up a lot over stuff. There are more nights than I can count on 7 hands, if I had 7 hands, that I go to bed at night thinking, I don't know how I got through this day. I don't know how I bluffed my way through another day as a writer, as a husband, as a father, as a creative person, as anything. I just feel like I'm wasting the days. I'm 56 years old at the time that I record this video. I'll be 57 this year. And I know I have more days behind me than in front of me. I don't think I'm going to live to be 112 or 113 or 114 at this point. So I think I'm more than halfway through my life. And it's that, what have I accomplished? What do I still need to accomplish in my life? And it weighs on me. It weighs heavily on me. And imposter syndrome is part of that. If I stop writing right now, if I disappear, right? Aliens come down today, take me, boom, gone. I don't know who was going to feed the cats. My wife's in Atlanta for the next day or two. I don't know what's going to happen. She's going to come home. I'm going to be gone. She'll probably be like, yeah, this is nice and quiet for a few days. Then she'll be like, yeah, maybe he's gone. Maybe I should figure out where. But at that point, what is my legacy? What are the things, okay, that I can look back on in my life and say, I'm proud of those things. And things I'm proud of because I did well. And I think that's the heart of the problem, because there's so many things that I think I could have done better. Okay. There's so many things I think I could have not taken offense to. I could have definitely could have been a better friend to a lot of people. There was a period of my life where people were dropping out and I was like mad at them. And then I realized, you know what, that's really was me. Relationships I had with women, I would think, man, I was really mentally abusive to this person. I mean, we're not talking about physical abuse. We're not talking about being mean to somebody, but just checking out, being selfish, and not really being the person that I was raised to be. My parents were awesome growing up. I mean, everybody's, but there's a lot of baggage just by being raised by two random people, right? But overall, I had a great childhood. So there's no, I've never done drugs in my life. I'm not much of a drinker, really. I think I've been drunk 3 times in my entire life. I don't smoke weed. I've never done any drugs, nothing. I'm just, don't smoke cigarettes, not a lot of vices. Okay. And I think all of that, I look back and I say, what are the highlights? What are the things that made me who I am today? And do I like this person? And I think, again, in case you didn't watch any of my other videos, I suffer from depression. I'm diagnosed as bipolar. I don't take meds or anything anymore because it really, really messes up with my creativity. And a lot of people are saying, well, that was, you're talking 20 something years ago, 20 years ago. It's different now. And I just remember that feeling 20 years ago of there's a picture of me from like 20 years ago, and I'm smiling, and I just look like if you focus in on the picture, you would see me drooling. Okay, it's a blank stare and a really weird smile. I don't smile a lot. I don't. I think things are funny. I'm in a good mood. I'm positive. Blah blah blah. But that's kind of my thing, especially when I'm out. And there's psychological behind that, I'm sure. But I don't ever want to get back to that, because that was a part of my life where, yeah, everything was kind of leveled off with the, whatever pills I was taking, whatever I was taking, but I wasn't being creative. It also turns that part of my brain off. Again, it might not do that anymore, but I don't want to chance it. This is my livelihood. This is how I make money, by writing, by creating, by all that. So I know I've really gone off into the weeds here. Guess what? I'm not editing this video. I don't edit any video. It's just me, train of thought, full steam ahead. That's the way we're going to do things. Sorry for burping. I'm not cutting that either. So how do I deal with imposter syndrome? Not well. I'm just going to be honest with you. I'm sure there are videos on here on YouTube where people they talk about, these are the 5 things I do, blah, blah, blah. I have nothing. I just run through it. I just try to ignore it. I try to ignore that little voice in my head that says, this is garbage. What you're writing right now is never going to make you any money. I've done that 200 times, and I've sold 200 different stories, books, novellas, flash fiction, short stories, whatever. So I know I can do it. I know it doesn't make sense. Yeah, we all write. Every writer's going to write garbage. Okay. It's that first million words idea and blah, blah, blah. I know I've written stories, and I have some stories where I'm like, this is never going to sell. I'll try. And then a lot of times those are the stories that sell. There was a novella I wrote called Necromance, which I don't even know if it's still even available. And I loved that book. Never sold. There's books I wrote that I absolutely thought, this is garbage. This is a hot mess of a story. This is not going to make me any money. Green River Blend, the first book in that trilogy, is a great example of that. I thought, I'm just throwing stuff against the wall and seeing if it sticks. This doesn't even make sense to me. So still sells very well. So for me, I am not a good judge of if something that I'm writing is going to be good or not. I always feel like it's all going to be bad. If I looked at imposter syndrome, if I really, really dug into it, I would, first off, nothing I have ever written would have been finished, because there's that point of every story that it's bad, it's garbage. I'm a hack writer. I tell everybody I'm a pulp fiction writer. Reality, that just means I'm just a bad writer. And so none of these stories would be finished. None of them would be published. And if I really leaned into imposter syndrome and it was real enough that what I'm thinking in my head is the truth, none of these stories would have been sold. I would be like, yeah, so I'm still working, that 9 to 5 or that 6 a.m. to 10 p.m., 6 days a week retail job for no money. And I still want to get my first story published. I mean, there's a wide gap between that reality and the reality that I have. The reality I have right now is I'm sitting here and still in my pajamas. It's 4:00 in the afternoon when I'm recording this. I rolled out of bed this morning and got myself a cup of coffee, shot a coffee of the day video, and I've been sitting here at my computer all day making stuff up, playing some Minecraft. So I guess what the bottom line is, every author at some point or other has imposter syndrome, and I don't think it goes away. And it might not be a bad thing that it, I don't know how I would feel if I sat down and I just wrote something and suddenly I was like, wait a minute, I've written 2 books, 3 books, 4 books, and these are all really, really good. And it's a weird thing. So I'll give you an analogy that I look at it. Being in a band, okay? Being in a rock band with 3, 4, 5 other guys in the band, and there's stress between you guys. Not everybody has the same ideas, and you're bringing in a guitar riff or a lyrics or something, and not everybody likes it, and there's that battle, okay? And at some point you start to think, man, I'm not a good guitar player, or I'm not a good singer, whatever it is. And the rest of the guys say, no, we love this, let's put this out. You hear those stories all the time about bands who wrote, we were jamming on this riff and we wrote this song and we all thought it was garbage, and the producer said, no, this is a hit, and we put it on the album, and that's the song we're known for, okay? That is our cherry pie. for a good example of a song that they did not like, and it became their de facto hit, the song that I guess there's probably still not happy that that's what they're known for, but they had that hit, and not everybody has a hit. So for me, it's the same thing. For other authors, it's the same thing. You can't tell me that some of these huge authors sit down and just go, I'm just going to write this story and I'm not going to have any issues, any problems, nothing with it. It doesn't happen. So for new authors, understand that you are going to second guess every word. You are going to second guess if this is a good enough story to submit to an anthology or to submit this book to a publisher. It's normal. It's a creative person. It's what we do. It's part of our mental issues. It's part of the problem, is what it is. So if you don't suffer from imposter syndrome, if you've gotten to that peaceful place in your life, let me know. Drop a message in the comment. I will envy you. I will probably dislike you. No, but or if you run through the same thing and you're like, I understand it. I'm never going to get over this. Perfect. I also want to thank everybody for hitting the subscribe button, and I want to thank everybody for watching these videos and watching through the ads. It helps me to continue to be able to write full time, and it can continue to have imposter syndrome. So, thank you very much for watching. Every Wednesday, every Sunday, a new writing video. If you have any ideas for other videos, drop them in the comments, or you can send me an email. I'm all over the place. Let me know you have an idea for a new writing video, and I will definitely get to it.